Andy Townsend here at talkSPORT got onto this subject that maybe Graham Potter, once of Brighton, now of Chelsea, isn't animated enough. We look at the touchline and see Arteta doing his nut. You can see Klopp doing the same. Pep, extremely animated. But Andy's point was, maybe Graham Potter could do with some of that. Is that fair? Does it have to go?
He's finding his place at the top table. And, you know, Arteta's grown a set over the last year or so. How did it work out for Arteta when he started bouncing around the dugout against Liverpool last year and playing songs in the background in the dressing room when they started playing Liverpool last year? Everyone finds their place at the table. He is moving from a slightly more pedestrian environment, with all due respect to Brighton, to the top tier. So there'll be a period of adjustment where he moves from not so much imposter syndrome, but from an understanding of where he was to where he's going. And I don't feel there's a necessity for the histrionics and all that other stuff, because I think some of it is not necessarily indicative of anything. I think some of the behaviour that we're seeing on the touchline doesn't necessarily mean the team's going to perform any better. It's about how he conveys the message to his players. We constantly listen to players in this studio telling us that they don't like to see their managers losing their heads. They like to see their managers calm and composed. So which is it then? So which version of the argument do you want to have? I want to see a manager that's capable of communicating with his players, unless, of course, he's talking to the media at half-time, which is your particular penchant, at key times in the game. I do think there's an element of him looking and assessing and finding his space. Now, he sits there and starts giving it the Thomas Frank bit, which is, you know, that we bashed that team and we smashed his team, and there's a moment in time where that will come back and haunt you. I think Graham Potter, albeit I think he's going to find it very difficult with Chelsea, I don't expect him to come out and do, you know, all this bullfighting stuff in the technical area that the other guys are doing.
Well,
I don't see
an allegation that Graham's acting too Brighton-like, that this is what he's brought with. I think that's a bit unfair. I mean, is Potter only doing what Eddie Howe has done since he went to Newcastle? And
when the expectation ramps up, Eddie Howe will perhaps feel the pressure a little bit differently, and the pressure will start to switch on to Eddie Howe, because right now he's done a brilliant job, but the expectation levels will creep in and the aspiration will become even more prevalent, and Eddie might find himself in a different frame of mind. But the argument that
he's also not going to swallow an animation tablet, is he? I mean, he's going to stay the same Eddie Howe. Potter will probably stay the same Graham Potter.
Well, he's never had... we don't know this, because he's managed, with respect, Bournemouth, whose main focus in life was to stay in the Premier League. Now he's managing Newcastle. You're writing the story about how Newcastle are going to be in the Champions League this year and expected to win the Premier League over the next couple of years. That expectation will come to land. Andy Townsend's observation that he cannot keep saying that the other team were better than him and giving that, well, of course he can't. He'll get the bleeding sack. He's not going to keep on saying that, is he?
No.
But there are moments in time when you want to actually hear, rather than a litany, how about this for an alternative view? Rather than a litany of excuses as to why it's not everybody else's fault but yours, you turn around and call it for what it is. What's the problem with that? Oh, you mean the pride bit? The bit about the fact that it takes a set of balls to turn around and deny everything, blame everything else, be aggressive in your approach, to defend from your own shortcomings, or simply say, in this moment in time, they were better than we were, it won't last forever. I'm all right with him at the moment.
You did say, in the build-up to that, though, Graham Potter will find it hard at Chelsea.
I do think he will find it hard. I think he'll find it incredibly hard, and so he should. Why shouldn't anybody find it hard? Because he's not been at that table. They've bought potential. They've bought potential, and they believe that that potential is going to manifest itself into an outcome. But the other guys, they didn't buy potential. Klopp wasn't potential. Klopp was already a real established winner, and had been Man City didn't take a punt. They got Pep Guardiola. You know, let's be clear. Tottenham didn't go, oh, I wonder if Conte's a winner. They got the winners. Chelsea can be commended in one respect for trying to put forward a vision and seeing the vision before it arrives. Anyone can see the vision of Pep Guardiola. It's not a secret, is he? And neither was Klopp, and neither was Conte. So this guy is a different direction of travel for Chelsea. I don't think it will end up being ultimately the way that they'll land on success, but I hope to be wrong.
I mean, just because he's gone to a top six club doesn't mean that overnight you've got to become super animated and change your ways completely.
No, you don't. And
you don't. Stick to what you are, surely. And that's what I mean about Eddie Howe. He has stuck to what he is. He behaved in the same way at Bournemouth as he's doing now at Newcastle.
But he's yes, okay, but there's been no pressure. Because the pressure at Newcastle was only about whatever happened at Newcastle the moment Mike Ashley went.
Well, they were under the cosh last season and he stayed the same Eddie Howe.
No, they got themselves together very quickly, didn't they? And there was a little bit at the beginning of the time when people started talking about things in a certain way, and there's been a little bit of an observation about drawing too many games in the middle of this season, but everything's pretty much gone the way Eddie Howe has wanted it to go and made it go. He has been the architect of this success. He has owned the success. And now what we're doing is we're moving away from this phase. It's a phase, right? Gratitude, Ashley's gone. Attitude, Ashley's gone. Gratitude, we're going in the right direction. Boom! Now we want to see some results, right? That will change. That gratitude and that feel-good factor will turn into Newcastle need to start winning things. And so it should. That's what football fans should want from their team.
Did you ever say to the many managers you had through your hands at Crystal Palace how you wanted them to behave in
no, good God,
in the technical area?
Well, why would you do that? That's ridiculous.
Did you ever say, look, I want you to show a bit more interest, for God's sake, be a bit more animated? Did you ever say that? Did you, or were you always happy with their demeanour?
No, I said I want to see a few more bleeding results, thank you. But I didn't ever turn around and say how they should be in the dugout. That's ridiculous.
Right.
Sometimes I watch a dugout and watch them waving down planes and think, for God's sakes, what's this, semaphore going on down there? Stop acting out for what you think the fans want to see and start focusing on what needs to be done, which is the players doing their bleeding jobs.
Right. Did they know what you were doing, your managers? Did they ever? Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
I think on the whole they did, but I really don't think that Andy Townsend's on the right pathway here. I don't think that's the thing you can pull him up for his team selection, pull him up for changing formations every other week, pull him up for getting beaten by Brighton 4-1 and getting handed their heads because Brighton were far more up for it than Chelsea were. Yeah, pull him up for those things.
This one just got off in it there. There's a message. Who are talkSPORT pundits to tell a manager who they've lauded for the last couple of years to change their way of managing?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. I mean, with great respect to Andy, who's a brilliant pundit and was a great footballer.
Oh, I like him.
Get in the dugout before you start talking about what people do in the dugout.
Yeah. There's a great point, actually, from Lewis. Jim Salmon, Carlo Ancelotti doesn't do all the shenanigans that we're talking about. Look at what he's won. The lot. No argument here. He's right about Ancelotti.
There was a different school. We have a plethora of football managers that are highly emotive at this moment in time. And it started, that kind of emotivity on the touchline started when Mourinho came over and we saw him playing United in 2003 when he ran down the touchline before he joined Chelsea, and that was the first real instances of that sort of character we saw back in the day. What was wrong with Bob Paisley? What was wrong with managers like that won everything and didn't show anything? Yeah, great point. Good word, plethora.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.